Hi, my name is Nathan. You're watching Nice at Dice, and today I'm going to be doing a playthrough of one of my own designs. This game is called Warriors and Writings. It is a print and play, roll and write fantasy dungeon crawler. So basically what that means, if you're not familiar with any of those terms, print and play means this game is available as a digital file. You download it, you print it out yourself, and provide a couple of other components, in this case dice and pencils, and then you have everything you need to play right there. It is a roll and write, meaning that basically you're going to be rolling a couple of dice every round, and then everybody's going to use the same values on those dice to resolve their actions for the round. Basically, your actions are going to involve writing on a couple of sheets of paper, one that tracks your character and the other one that tracks your progress through the dungeon. It is a fantasy dungeon crawler, which means your actions that you're resolving are basically going to be taking your fantasy adventurer through this map, this dungeon, fighting enemies as you go, collecting treasure, eventually fighting a boss enemy. And the goal is to defeat the boss enemy. You have to do that to qualify for victory. And then everyone who has defeated the boss enemy after a certain number of rounds will compare how much gold they've collected. Whoever's looted the most gold is the winner of the game. You can also play solo, in which case you're just trying to defeat the boss enemy within a certain number of rounds and beat your high score as far as how much gold you were able to collect in the run. So today we're going to be looking at what I call the introductory edition of the game. It's a free version of the game that you can download from a few different websites. There'll be links in the description of this video, so you can find that if you want to download that. Basically, it has a streamlined version of the rules, and it provides you with two simplified characters, the hero and the sage. And then it also provides you with two kind of small dungeons that you can run through. We're going to just be looking at one of those characters in one of those dungeons today. We'll go over to the table here. I'll explain a little bit more how the game works, and then we'll just get right into our playthrough. All right, so let's take a look at this. This is the introductory edition. First of all, you have a rule sheet, which is basically just 2 pages of rules, like so. Pretty simple. And then you have a half-page character sheet. Today we're going to be playing as the Sage. The Sage, every character has a health, and that's tracked by these 4 hearts. You're going to mark off the hearts as you take damage. You can erase those marks as you recover with healing items. And then you have another resource called Grit, which is tracked with these 3 triangles, which again, you're going to mark them off as you spin Grit. And then when you recover Grit, you can remove the marks. Grit is primarily used to modify the value of the action dice. You can always spend 1 grit to raise the value of an action die by 1, either up or down. You can spend multiple grit to modify the die by more than 1, if you like. And you also are going to spend grit to power your talents, which we'll get to in a minute. You then have a space to record your gold. Gold is basically your score at the end of the game. You want to have as much as possible. And then you have a space to record your experience points, or XP. You're going to get XP from defeating enemies, and you're going to spend it to unlock more talents. Below that, you have your basic actions, and the Sage has 3 basic actions. They have a move, which allows them to just move up to a number of spaces based on the value of the action die that they spend to perform that action. Then you have a rest action, which has you spend an action die of any value to recover 2 grit. And then you have your attack, which is called the magic shot. You spend an action die to attack an enemy within 3 spaces, and they also have to be in an uninterrupted straight, vertical, horizontal, or diagonal line from you, so any straight line from you. And their defense has to be less than the value of the die. So if all that qualifies, then the enemy will take 1 damage. Then you have your talents, and you're going to start out with 1 talent at the beginning of the game, and you can spend 10 experience points to unlock another talent. His 3 talents are the Exploding Shot, which lets you spend 2 grit to resolve your magic shot against each enemy within 2 spaces. So that's multiple enemies, shorter range, 2 spaces instead of 3. But again, it's multiple enemies, and they no longer have to be in straight lines. It's just they have to be within 2 spaces of you. So you could even count around a corner, for example. Then you have the Homing Shot. You can spend 2 grit when resolving your magic shot to target an enemy within 5 spaces and not in a straight line of you. So longer range and no longer has to be in a straight line. And then the last talent is the Magical Barrier, which you can spend 2 grit to reduce the amount of damage dealt by a single enemy by 1. So Most of the time that will protect you entirely from an enemy. They won't be able to do any damage to you, but that's what the magical barrier does. So at the beginning of the game, we're going to choose one of these talents. Before I do that, let's just cover our last thing on here, which is your inventory. You have 3 different items you can collect: potions, which heal your health; elixirs, which recover your grit; and keys, which will unlock doors. We're not going to have any items at the beginning of the game, but we will have one talent. So let's choose a talent. Let's go with, let's see. We have some sort of like clusters of enemies here and there. So I think on this map, it might be advantageous to have this exploding shot. So let's go with that. We're just going to mark the box next to exploding shot to indicate that we have that talent. All right, now let's look at our dungeon. So we have here the map of the dungeon. Shaded spaces are the walls. It tells you to start here. As we move around the dungeon, we're just going to be drawing lines across these spaces to track our movement. You're going to see we have enemies. This is the spider warrens, so we have a few different kinds of spiders. We have these spitting spiders, which can attack you at range. We have biting spiders, which attack you close up. We have a giant scorpion, which is really tough. He's got 2 health instead of 1, and he's got the highest defense of all the enemies on this map. And then we have the spider queen. She's the boss. She's got 3 health, so she's really tough. And anytime you move adjacent to her, you're going to lose 1 grit. And if you end your round adjacent to her, she's going to damage you for 2 damage, which is pretty high. Same thing with this giant scorpion. We're also going to see that there's treasure piles on the map. When you end your movement on a treasure pile, you're going to roll a die, and that's how much gold you're going to get. So we want to collect as much gold as we can. We've got a couple of traps on the map. When you move over a trap, you have to roll a die, and depending on what you roll, you're going to have some negative consequences. If you roll a 5 or 6, you're safe. So you can safely disarm the trap if you're lucky, but more than likely you're going to take some damage. Or it will just make you end your movement. So that's what the trap could do. And then we have item stashes. We've got one over here, for example. If you end your movement on that space, then you pick up a potion and an elixir. And that's basically it. So, oh, and we also have the door. And the door basically blocks your movement, blocks attacks, until you've unlocked it. And you unlock it either with a key or by spending a action die with a value of 6 next to it. All right, so let's get right into it. We're going to be rolling 2 dice each round. I'm using these, they're called double D6s. They're basically 12-sided dice with the numbers 1 through 6 printed on them twice. You can use a regular 6-sided dice if you like. I just like the way these roll, so that's what I'm using today. So we're going to start by rolling 2 dice. We rolled a 2 and a 4. These are our action dice, so now we're going to spend these values to resolve our actions. We have 3 actions available to us. We can use any action twice or any 2 actions in any order. Doesn't matter. All right, and we're going to be just marking everything we do over here in this marker because we don't ever have to worry about erasing any of it. Some of the stuff over here I'm going to be marking with a pencil, which is harder for you to see, but I got to do it because some of the stuff you mark on here you later erase. All right, so we'll just get right into it. We've got a 2 and a 4, and we're starting here. So we have this spider, which requires, he has a defense of 3, so I'm going to have to spend a 4 or higher to attack him. That's not a problem because I've got this 4 here. So let's just use this 2 to move. We can move up to 2 spaces then. So we're going to move over here and stop on that space. And then we can use our 4 to damage this spider. And since he only has 1 hit point, we're just going to take him out. And the reward for taking out a spitting spider is 2 XP. So we'll mark that over here. And that'll be that round. So roll up for the next round. We're also, at the end of each round, we're going to mark 1 space on this time track down here. There's 20 spaces here, so you have 20 rounds to complete the run. So our next round, we have a 1 and a 6. We'll go ahead and use the 6. Go 1, 2, 3, end our movement on this treasure. And so we'll roll to see how much gold we get. We got 2 gold. Mark that over there. And then we have a 1. We'll just use that to step back into this space. There. And we'll mark another round complete. roll up and go again. We've got a 1 and a 3. Okay, so we use the 3 to move over here. And if I use the 1 to move up here, I'm going to be in the awkward position of being attacked by the spitting spider over there. So, unfortunately, I don't have anything good to do with that 1 because I don't want to move up and get shot. Well, you know what? Maybe what I'll do is I can spend 2 grit to raise the value of that 1 to a 3. And then I can move 1, 2, 3, and end on this trap. I'm going to draw an X over the trap to indicate that I've set it off. And we'll roll to see what it does. We rolled a 5. Okay, so a 5 or a 6 on the trap means I disarmed it safely. So it didn't do anything to me. Okay, so that was good. I'm in a good spot. Nothing can attack me there. Basically, the enemies attack at the end of the round, so it just matters where you end the round. You also take 1 damage if you move on to a space with an undefeated enemy, so you want to avoid that too. We're going to mark that round as over. We're going to roll for our next round. Okay, so we've got a 1 and a 3. Okay, I'm going to use the 1 to rest, which lets me recover 2 grit. So I've spent 2 grit. I'm going to recover those. Now I have 4 grit available to me. And then I'm going to use this 3. I'm going to spend 1 grit to make it a 4. Actually, I'm going to spend 2 grit to make it a 5. And then I'm going to spend my other 2 grit to do my exploding shot. So I can resolve my magic shot against each enemy within 2 spaces. That would be both of these 2 biting spiders, and then this spitting spider around the corner would actually also be hit. So I do 1 damage to each of them. They each only have 1 health, so I'm going to take out all 3, and that is pretty nice. Okay, the rewards for doing that is going to be, it's going to total up to 2 gold and 4 XP, so we'll make a note of that. And that will be the round. Back to having no grit again, which is not great, but we'll make the most of it. Okay, so I've got a 4 and a 2. I'm going to use the 4 to go 1, 2, 3, 4 over to this pile of treasure. I'm going to search it, and I only rolled a 1, so that's just 1 gold for that. And then I've got this 2, which I'm going to use just to walk back around to here. That's the round. Roll up for the next round. Okay, a couple of 1s. Well, I'm going to go ahead and use... you know what? I might go ahead and use both of them to recover my grit. So I'll be at full grit. I'll have all my grit available to me. Okay, and that'll be a round. And then we'll start the next round. We've got a 5 and a 3. So we're going to need a 6 to hit this guy at all. Let's see what we can do with 3 will take us 1, 2, 3. And the range of our attack is 3. So he's just out of range there. Well, you know what? If I spent 1 grit, I could have made that 3 a 4. And that would have had me stopping right there on this spot. And that puts me within 3 spaces of him. Alright, so that would have been a 4 and it would have been spent. Then I have a 5 left. I could spend 1 grit to make it a 6. And that's what I need to attack him. So we'll do that. And we'll just make a little mark in the corner of his space to indicate I damaged him. He's got 2 health, so I got to hit him 1 more time in order to take him out. Next round, we've got a couple of 2s. Well, that's no good. Let's see, if we use one of those 2s to rest, then that will recover 2 grit, and we'll have all 4 available, and then we could spin those 4 to make the other 2 a 6. So we'll do that, and then we'll use the 6 that we've just gotten to make another attack and finish him off. So we'll just cross him out. And when we finish him off, we get 2 gold, 4 experience, and we get a key as well, which we'll mark down here on our inventory. So now we have 10 experience. We can spend all 10 of those experience to collect, to get another talent. So we'll go ahead and unlock our homing shot. That'll be nice. We can shoot a little bit farther, and we can shoot around corners with that. And that's the round. So let's start our next round. Okay, we've got a couple of ones. Well, we'll use one of those ones to just step up right here. And that way we're in position to use this key. We'll just mark exit off, and that'll unlock this door that's next to us. We'll circle it to indicate it's open. And then we have another 1. We'll just use that to recover our grit again. So we recover 2 grit with that. Okay, that's a round. All right. We've got a couple of 5s this time. That's much better. So we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and run over to this pile of treasure there. We'll go ahead and roll, see how much gold we get from that. Just 1. So that's 7 gold we have now. And we still have a 5. What do we want to use that 5 for? So I could run back to here next to the door with that 5, or I could just step up and get these items. That would give me a potion and an elixir. I'm not likely to need the potion because I'm a ranged combatant, so I'm not going to have to take too much damage dealing with these enemies. The elixir would be helpful, but I think I don't want to spend the time on it. So let's just use our 5 to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll end up standing next to the door again. All right, we are halfway through the game now, having played 10 rounds, and we just rolled a 4 and a 1. So we need a 5 to damage either of these guys. And we also are in the position of, let's see. Okay, well, let's spend 2 grit, the last 2 grit we have, to make this, instead of a 4 and a 1, we'll make it a 5 and a 2. So then we can use the 2 to move up to this spot right here. And then we can use the 5 to attack this guy right here. Okay? We can draw a diagonal line right there around the corner and hit him with the 5. And that'll take him out, and that gets us 1 gold and 1 XP. Use this with 8 gold. Okay. And that'll be that round. Next round. Okay, we've got a 3 and a 5. Well, the 5 is good. We're in kind of a difficult spot because I'm trying to make the most of my actions here. It'd be nice to be able to use an exploding shot. Like if I could move right up here to where this enemy was and use an exploding shot, it would take out these 2 enemies at the same time, so that'd be nice. But I don't have the grit to do that. If I had picked up this item stash, which I decided not to, then I'd have an elixir I could use to recover all my grit. That would have been nice. But too late now to go back and collect that. So we're just going to have to move a little more slowly, a little more cautiously. We'll use this 5 to attack this guy. Take him out. That gets us 1 gold and 1 XP. And then we've got this 3. I'm wondering, should I bother to move, or would now be a good time to use this 3 to recover some grit? I'm thinking the latter. Let's use that to recover some grit. So we recover 2 grit, and that is it for the round. Alright, now we've got a 3 and a 6. So we can use the... We've got 2 grid available to us. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's not ideal. Let's see. Okay. All right. Well, let's just use the 3 to go over here. All right. So we've moved here, and then we can use the 6 to shoot this guy, and that'll give us a couple of experience points. That's another round down. All right. Now we've got a 2 and a 6. All right. Well, let's use the let's use the 6. We're going to try and move up past this trap and over to this treasure. But when we move up onto the trap, I'm going to exit out, and then we got to roll to see what the trap does. We rolled a 2. On a 2, the trap does 1 damage to us, and our movement ends. So we're going to mark 1 damage on a heart over here, and we just end our movement there. So we've used the 6. We have a 2 left, which we can use to continue our movement up to this treasure. And then we'll roll for the treasure. 3. So now we're at 12 gold. Okay. And that'll be it for that. So let's see what we get next. Okay, we've got a 2 and a 4. We'll use the 2 to run over to this treasure. And that got us 2 gold. And then we have a 4, which we'll use to go 1, 2, 3, 4, back to this spot. Okay, we've got a 4 and a 5. Okay, so now this is good, because I can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Do that, 1, 2, 3, 4. End our movement right there. And then we can use the 5 and the 2 grit that we have to make an exploding shot. And we're going to do 1 damage to each enemy within 2 spaces. That'll take out this guy, and this guy. And it'll do 1 damage to the boss, which will just make a little mark kind of close to the boss to track that. The rewards for taking out those 3 guys is going to total up to 2 gold and 4 XP. So we'll mark that over there. And that's it. That's our round. Okay. Next round. Got a 4 and a 5. So we need to do some more damage to the boss. In order to damage the boss, we're going to need a 5. And we got to do 2 more damage. So let's just let's go ahead and use the 5 to do 1 damage to the boss. All right, we've got a straight line like that, so we can do 1 damage to her. And then we have a 4. We'll use that 4 to just run 1, 2, 3, and collect this treasure here. That was 2 gold. Puts us at 18. And that's it for that round. We've got 3 more rounds to finish this off. Rolled a 2 and a 5. Okay, well the 5 is what we need to finish off the boss. So we'll mark the boss off like that. And the boss, beating the boss gets us 5 gold and 5 XP. So that puts us at 23 gold and 13 XP. We could spend 10 XP to get our magical barrier if we want, our last talent. But at this point it's kind of irrelevant. And we have a 2, which we'll just use to move over here into the space that the boss was in. Next round. We got a 2 and a 3, so we can go 1, 2, 3. Collect this last treasure here. That's a 4. Okay, so that puts us at 27. And I forgot to do this, but when we beat the boss last round, I should have marked that with an X on the time track. So we just did that now to correct that. And I just went there and did that. I had 2 left, which I could use to move, but there's not really anything left to do at this point. We've defeated all the enemies. And, oh, there's 1 piece of gold. There's 1 treasure here I forgot to collect. All right. So let's I'm not going to be able to get to it, but we'll book it in that direction. I can't believe I completely overlooked that. So we move there, and then we'll roll these 2 action dice. We got a 2 and a 5, so we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2. Yeah, that's it. So we didn't make it back to that treasure. I should have gotten that earlier on my way through, but I forgot about it. Okay, so that would be the end of the game. If we were playing multiplayer, everybody would be using the same dice values. When you spin grit to modify the values, you only modify the value for yourself. Everybody else keeps the same value, the original value, unless they also spin grit to modify it, of course. But yeah, so you'd all be using the same values on the action dice. You'd be playing through the same dungeon. You might have a different character or the same character. But it's kind of, who can make the best use of the dice in order to get the farthest, whatever. So, at this point, anyone who defeated the boss, which I did, would compare their gold. So I had 27 gold to see if I have more gold than everybody else, then I won. If not, somebody else won. And you want to track which round you defeated the boss in, because in the case of a tie, which isn't going to happen often, but say I have 27 gold, someone else also had 27 gold, then whoever beat the boss in the earlier round is the winner of the 2 of us, right? So that's basically how it works. As you can see, it's really simple, real streamlined, plays quickly. Of course, this recording took a little while because I was explaining everything as I go, but once you know how the game works, you can easily knock this out in like 10-15 minutes. Especially if you're playing solo, in which case if you're playing solo, you're just going for a high score, have to beat the boss, and then get as much gold as you can in the allotted time. So that's a quick look at the game. We'll go back up top and I'll give you some closing thoughts. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that playthrough of Warriors and Writings, the Introductory Edition. As you can see, it's very straightforward, very simple gameplay. It's quick to play. You can play with up to 4 players easily. In theory, you could play with more than 4 players. Nothing wrong with doing that. But of course, when you start to add more players, then the game will get a little bit slower. Even though everybody's acting simultaneously, you'll always be at the speed of whoever takes the longest each round. So that can slow things down if you have a lot of different players, right? But easily you can play 1 to 4 players. Even the solo play is enjoyable with that. You're always, under the gun to defeat the boss, within a certain number of rounds. So there's that time pressure. And then you're also trying to collect more loot than you have on previous runs, right? There's, like I said, a couple of different maps. We just showed you one map and one of the adventurers. There's 2 different options. You can mix and match them. And in the full edition of the game, there's going to be the heroes, the adventurers are going to be more involved. The maps are more involved. There's a more interesting challenges and a greater variety of challenges. So you can look forward to that in the full edition. And I'll be showing some previews of that as well. Again, you can find this introductory edition free to download, play, check out for yourself. Links are in the description of this video. Again, my name was Nathan. You're watching Nice at Dice. Thank you so much for watching, and you enjoy the rest of your day.